we just heard the gospel in song. So at this time, we'll have Brother Flemming give the sermon titled Give Us a King. Brother Flemming, time is yours.
Good morning. I am thankful to be alive today. I'm thankful to be a Seventh-day Adventist today. I'm thankful to have the message that God has given His people, and never has there been a time where there has been more verification of God's message to this world than now. I am so thankful to have made decisions a long time ago to be able to follow the things that God has given us as a people. And I am very amazed to watch how so many things are happening right now, and that at the very time that these things are happening, many people who've known these things for years would be so excited to be watching them unfold right now. We read in Samuel, 1 Samuel, the 8th chapter, verses 6 and 7, that the children of Israel gathered together, and they said, "Give us a king." And Samuel was very upset by this. He was really disturbed that they had asked this. But God said, "They have not rejected you, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them," at the end of verse 7. Now, did the children of Israel really reject God by asking for a king? That's the question I have for you today. God said, "They've not rejected you, Samuel, they've rejected me." Now, did the children of Israel at this point in time reject God? You know, we could look at the history of the children of Israel from that point on. Who picked their king for them, their first king? Didn't God select Saul? And didn't He select David? And didn't He help them all along the way, picking kings? So did they really reject God at that point? They were still having their worship. Didn't Solomon build a beautiful temple? So were they really rejecting God? God said, "They've rejected me." So I want to think about that for a moment today. And then Samuel went on to tell them all the things that the king was going to do. What did he do? He's going to take your children. He's going to take your manservants and your maidservants. He's going to have armies. And he's going to make them slaves and servants. And they're going to do all these different jobs. Had they had that at all in Israel up to that point? None. They had a prophetic leader. And what was that leader like? If you went into the camp of Israel and you saw there 1,000 tents, could you tell which tent was Moses' tent? Would you be able to tell? Was it 20 stories higher than the other tents? Or was it gilded with gold all around the edges? You might have to ask somebody, which one is Moses' tent? Could you tell me where I could find Moses? And Jesus, in prophecy, said, God had said to Moses, or to the children of Israel, "I'm going to raise up a Messiah like who? Like unto Moses." And when the children of Israel chose a king, what did they begin to lose concept of? They began to lose concept of what a heavenly king is like, the Messiah. They began to lose the concept. When you came to Jerusalem, could you tell which house was Solomon's house? You could tell it from a long way off, couldn't you? And did Solomon do all the things that Samuel told the people he was going to do? He took their children and made them servants and slaves and bakers and cooks. He did all those things, didn't he? But the most important thing was is the children of Israel began to lose concept of what God is like. And that's how they rejected him. Does God give us things to do that help us to learn what he's like? If I share this scripture with Jewish people today, and I say to them, now, what would happen if at Solomon's time, Moses would have come back to life and come to the camp of Israel and walked into Jerusalem? What would they have done with Moses? Do you know what most Jewish people will say? Do you have any idea what they would say? They say they probably would have killed him. And then they go, oh! Do you know why they would have killed him? Because he did not look like a king to them. He did not look like a leader to them. Now, did that carry through with the different kings? Do you remember that Naaman, when Naaman came to be healed, we always tell the story of how he went to Elijah, right? But where did Naaman go first? He went into the heart of the Israeli government, and he went to the king, and what did the king do? He tore his clothes, and he said, "You've come to destroy us." And then, still going on, out of the city, out in the country, was the prophetic system still going on. And Naaman is sent out to the prophet. And when he doesn't even get to the prophet, he gets his instructions about what to do. Now, was he used to those kinds of instructions? No, he got angry. He was going to leave. He didn't even want to stay around because it was too what? Too simple. And so he's going to leave, but one of his attendants said to him, "Well, what if he would have asked you to do some great thing? Would you have done that?" Yes, he came loaded with presents and all ready to do anything, right? Now, are we in the same position today? What if we took anybody in this room and we said, what did God give his people in terms of an educational system? Can some people here tell me some of the elements of God's educational system? Anybody think of one that you could just say? What are one of the elements of God's educational system? Anyone?
Garden.
Thank you. Gardening. In fact, that was supposed to be the XYZ, right? XYZ? Or was it ABC? Now, if we just took that element of education and we looked at our educational systems today, what have we done with that element of education? Completely put it aside. Now, is it possible that we, like the children of Israel, have chosen to reject God by rejecting his counsel? And that we are possibly preparing for a Messiah that is not at all like the one that's coming? Isn't that what the Jewish people did? In fact, they took Christ and they waved palm branches and they put him on his donkey and they thought, you know, if he would only go and take the Roman chair, then we'll worship him. We'll follow him. If he will live up to our expectations. Right? Now, you know, what if we took medical work? Did God give us medical work? Well, he gave us medical missionary work. Are there some elements of that medical missionary work that we could quote today, like farming? What are one of the elements we could quote today about the medical missionary work that God gave us? Anybody? Anything from history you remember about medical missionary work? Nobody remembers any of it? Fomentations. Wow, there's one. Now, we could go over here to the local hospital and get some fomentations, couldn't we?